This is a pod. A pod about dogs.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Dog Pod. I'm Sophie and I'm here with Ian, and today we're going to chat about how the dog's brain works and understanding how they think and how we can help them in certain situations.
Yeah, that's right. And so today we're going to be talking, like you say, we're going to be trying to look into, if we can understand how their mind works, then we can start to look at how to resolve problem behaviors, because we kind of, if we can work out what's causing the behavior and what they're trying to achieve in that moment, then we can work with them rather than against them.
Yeah, and the same with humans, like that's what they do for us as well, you know.
When we're trying to work out why we're doing something, we're trying to figure out what's going on in our mind.
Yeah.
I think, it's kind of goes under the radar that dogs are emotional animals. They do feel emotions, basic emotions, not really in-depth ones like the same as us. They don't have the same capability.
And I think that's, a lot of people think, oh, my dog's embarrassed and my dog.
Yeah, like embarrassed and guilty and vindictive, spiteful, all of those things, they don't really come into a dog's playbook when it comes to their ability to think.
So what's the basic emotions that they feel?
So they can feel joy. They can learn to love things. They form attachments to things, and genuinely take so much comfort from them that is basically love.
Yeah.
They feel fearful.
Yep.
They feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
They
happy.
Yep. So the real basic ones, and essentially, I think this is the biggest reward you can give a dog, is to make them feel safe, and everything else on top of that is actually a bonus.
Yeah, and I think with feeling safe, you know, when we bring them into our house, we know that they're safe, but they actually don't know they're safe yet. I think you told me that it's about 3 months for a dog to fully settle into a new environment.
Yeah, so I think I always say, if a dog moves house, you know, and it's got especially if it's got previous learnt association with previous environments and what have you, it can take around 3 months for a dog to kind of learn the patterns of that new home. Mm-hmm. So, and in that moment, they probably don't know why they've been moved.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to figure out how to survive there. Whereas we've got it in our head, you know, we can see that we've brought them in, we've taken them away from danger. We know that we're going to look after them. We lock the doors, we close the windows, we set alarms. But the dogs don't. The dogs have no concept about it. They've just been placed in an environment that they have no concept of, control of. And then they're trying to survive. And I think whatever behaviors they learn in those 3 months and going forward, but in those 3 months, it's going to imprint on them. This is how we cope with this new place. And if they fall into nice relaxing patterns and really drop their guard and fall asleep, I use sleep as a gauge. If my dog is prepared to fall asleep in that environment, I've nailed it.
Yeah.
It means it's so comfortable, it just doesn't care. Whereas I see a lot of people mistake excitement, hyperarousal for excitement and happiness. And I see it quite often. I see a lot of hypervigilance, especially in the city.
Yeah.
And just because the dog's busy, they think it's happy.
Yeah, like, oh, my dog likes to sit at the door and watch people walk past, or my dog likes to look at the builders across the road. It's like, yeah.
I had a lovely client in Clovelly, this lovely house overlooking Clovelly Beach. Beautiful, beautiful home. And the guy was such a nice guy as well. And he goes, I love this. My dog gets to look out at Clovelly Beach all day. And I'm thinking, that's a nice sentiment, but your dog is also barking at every single person and dog that goes by. It's actually displaying a lot of stress-based behaviors.
Yeah, and that's the other thing when the postman example, you know, it's the same as the Clovelly house. If there's watching people go past, every time that person goes past, it's like, oh, scared that person away.
Yeah, postman comes in, bark at them, they move away.
Yeah.
They don't know that the postman was meant to come.
No.
It's just a concept that we created, and we kind of I think we do that too much. I think we ask dogs to comprehend a lot of complex information that we're normalizing because our brains are capable of.
Yeah.
But we never explain to the dog. And, we hear this, I think, way too much. The dog should just know.
Yeah, that kills me.
I mean, even if it was a human, it's got the cognitive thinking ability of a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's not a human and it's a dog gives it even less of a chance.
Yeah.
So let's go into, like we said right at the start, we said we're going to talk about the brain.
No.
That's
We're
great.
really good at not talking about what we said we're going to talk about.
Don't tell everyone. And it's so the dog's brain is in a really simple form. We look at it as if it's got two sides. It's got a thinking side that's the happy side. That's where it can actually make decisions, process information clear. It's best frame of mind for learning. It's where we like to train our dogs, and they form really clear memories. And that's where we want our dogs to live. Now, the other side of the brain is when the amygdala in the brain fires and their fight-flight center comes on. So I think, if it's all right, we'll call it the danger brain for the rest of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So when the danger brain comes on, that's the early warning center. That's the dog's stress center coming on, and it's there for self-preservation. It's the primitive side of the brain that's just there to keep them alive. We've got one, but proportionately, theirs is bigger than ours, proportionally. As it turns on, we see the 4 Fs. We see fiddle, freeze, flight, fight.
Yeah.
In that order, that's as it gets more and more stressful or more aroused, because positive stress good stress has the same chemical impact as negative stress. We see the dog go through those stages. Those stages aren't choice. This is where we talked about theory of mind, where the dog is only ever communicating how it feels. So a fiddle behavior, a freeze response, running away, or even fight response, out and out aggression, is not the dog trying to influence anyone else's emotions. It is simply them communicating how stressed they are.
And I think people don't understand that, and they will punish their dog for displaying those behaviors. I even walked past a lady yesterday, actually, and her dog barked at mine, and she pulled the leash so tight and yelled at it and was like, "Stop, why are you barking? Stop barking." And I was like, man, first of all, don't take your dog to the dog park. It's not happy there. It was at the dog park. I was like,
oh shit,
it's not happy. What are you doing? It clearly doesn't like dogs. And it's stressed.
And that's it. That's why we really love doing these podcasts, because it's these people have got the best intentions, I think.
Yeah.
But they've been misinformed.
Mm-hmm.
I think, we're gonna talk about socializing a lot, but and we're gonna go into that a lot more detail. But what we're seeing there in terms of the brain is the dog's danger brain has set off, and when it has, the dog is learning, but it doesn't mean it's learning anything good.
Yeah.
Every single memory it's taking in is like a trauma shot. It's like a snapshot of that vivid, like, image. It's going to learn that dog profile. Maybe it's a shape of a bulldog or a shape of a German Shepherd or a shape of a poodle. But it's going to learn, and next time it sees something similar, it's going to trigger the same emotional response of stress.
Yeah.
And we start to see learn stress points. And the more time it's put in that position, the more trauma shots it has, and the more memory bank it has to actually pull in and go, oh my God, this is also stressful. This is also stressful. And we end up with a dog carrying a lot of stress.
So would it associate that with the environment as well? Like that specific environment?
Yeah.
It would already feel stress going to that place because it's been stressed before there.
Yeah, that's why I don't particularly like sending my dog away for training, because they learn by association.
Yeah, right.
So I set up the company to deliberately go to people's homes and work in the environment that they're in, because taking it out of the environment might help it de-stress and learn, but it doesn't necessarily apply to the new environment or to the individual that is now training it. So I can train your dog, but it doesn't mean you know how to do that, and it doesn't mean you're going to take it into the same place.
Yeah.
I think a good example. Sorry.
No.
I love this one though. This is where people generalize again. They go back, say, for example, the dog goes into the kitchen, their kitchen, and knows not to steal food off the counter, but then goes in, take the dog around a friend's house and jumps up on the counter and steals food off the kitchen.
Yeah.
And people will go, oh, he shouldn't do that.
He knows.
He knows not to go in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't think, he knows that there's food on a different workbench and it's a different environment altogether with completely different surroundings.
Yeah.
If you change the environment, you change the behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go through fiddle, freeze, flight, and fight.
Mm.
So we've got your fiddle behaviors at your first. So usually these occur when a dog feels uncomfortable or is experiencing fear or stress and it's communicating this to other dogs. So the kind of things that we see, we have to make sure they're in context though.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if a dog's shaking off, it's just come out of the water and it's shaking.
That's a really good point. These fiddle behaviors are behaviors completed all the time by dogs. So, like you say, shaking off is a normal behavior. But if a context is applied, then we go, oh, your dog's not wet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think once I tell my clients to look for these things, they actually go, oh, wow. My dog does that all the time, or other dogs they see do that all the time. And especially when they're walking down the street. So one big one that I see a lot is lip licking. So I actually had one of my clients the other day and she was walking her dog and she noticed she was coming up to another dog on the road, on the footpath. And she noticed that dog started lip licking and then it yawned. And then she went, okay. And so she crossed the road because she was like, that dog is not happy. It's stressed. And so she avoided it.
Yeah. So that dog lip licking and yawning is actually going, wow, you're coming into my space and I'm uncomfortable. And if your client did a really good thing, but instead of carrying on towards it and causing more stress, you went around.
Yeah.
Now, that's introduced enough stress for the dog to go, whoop, that's enough. And then, but then it's actually, because she's taken the right act, she's actually created a positive association. So those dogs have then gone around them, and that dog that was lip licking and yawning now feels heard. Yeah. But I think this is a really important thing. I think dogs build relationships through trust, and trust is earned through listening. Yeah. And if a dog always feels heard by other dogs or by a certain individual, then they're going to learn to like them and build confidence in interacting with them. If they're constantly ignored, they're going to feel that you're an idiot, mate, and you keep ignoring me. Why would I want you in my space?
Same with people.
Absolutely.
Same thing. But yeah, I think it's really important to look out for those fiddle behaviors with your own dog and with other dogs as well. Yeah. Because they're the first warning sign to say, hey, I'm feeling really uncomfortable here.
That's it. And let's go into growling, because growling is a fiddle.
Yep.
And it's probably one of the most misunderstood dog behaviors out there. Growling triggers something in us. It makes us uncomfortable. Well, it's actually meant to. But just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you should punish it. And just because it's socially unacceptable doesn't mean you should punish it. Yeah. The dog is actually communicating really clearly, I am getting stressed. I need distance. Yeah. And it's got to the point where it's actually can't, he's really clearly communicating this. Because of perception of you can't growl, people in the past have then reprimanded growling. Mm. And what this does, it means the dog can no longer communicate, this is getting stressful. We've taken its ability to actually let others know that stress is setting in and this could get worse. So you create a time bomb. I think the most dangerous dogs in the world are the ones that don't warn.
100%. Definitely. Because then what's the next option after growling?
Well, that's right. So as we talked about the 4 Fs, the dog's already fiddling. Now, just because it can't growl, it doesn't, and this is where calm submission is not a bloody thing. Yeah. People call it calm submission, and the dog is not calm. The dog is learning, I can't communicate. Now, that's helplessness. Yeah. But anybody that's forced to be helpless is a time bomb and will explode. Yeah. And you'll see after that, the responses. I think there's a really cool video out there with a very famous dog trainer that we could probably find and put up next to this, where the dog is growling and then can't growl and goes into a freeze response.
Mhm.
It's then frozen. It's just going, I'm not allowed to communicate. What the hell do I do? It's a rabbit in headlights at this point.
Yeah.
It's not got better. And I think the trainer's describing, this is getting better. Look at it. It's calm, submissive. It's a freeze response, mate. It's more stress than it was before.
Shitting itself.
And then you've got, beyond that, of course, it'll get to a panic attack. Out and out panic attack, what's commonly known as the red zone. And that is where the dog tries to create distance and just needs to get out of there.
Yeah.
Self-preservation has kicked in. I need to stay alive. I'm not thinking anymore. And it's got to a point where it's flight or fight.
Mhm.
And I say it in that order because fight for a dog is the last resort.
Yeah.
It is dogs are social animals. They're not actually, we normalize aggression way too much. They're just being dogs. That's because we compromise dogs all the time and we see them in stress situations. That's not right. Just because we see it a lot doesn't mean that it's actually okay. They will choose to avoid conflict because they don't know that we can take them to the vets. They don't know that they're actually going to live through a fight. For a dog, getting into a fight is an absolute panic attack, and it's just so bad for them. But so they will try and avoid conflict. So they've already communicated the fiddles. They've already said, hey, this is getting stressful. Then they've frozen. They've actually gone, oh, God, I don't know what to do. Actually, just back onto that, a lot of dogs learn to bypass freeze very quickly. It is a terrible coping mechanism.
Yeah.
That rabbit in headlights normally gets hit.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah.
they a lot of dogs, you don't see a lot of freeze response. And a freeze response also can actually just be a dog moving in almost slow motion. It doesn't have to be rigid still. It could just also very slowly trying to move away or towards. But
Do you know when I see that a lot with people is when meeting on footpaths, two dogs coming at each other. The other dog doesn't know what to do, so it goes, oh, and it just freezes in its tracks.
footpaths are horrific conventions for dogs.
Yeah. For us, they're good, but for dogs, they're like, oh shit, this dog's coming. Oh God, it's coming closer. Oh
Yeah.
God, oh God, oh God. What do I do? What do I do? Where do I go?
Let me paint this picture because I love this. I use this a lot. Hey, a dog walking head on towards another dog is confrontational. It's rude and it's basically going, I'm coming right at you. Now, when I'm walking down the footpath, I understand it. I know that the footpath is to the side of the road, and if I'm walking in the road, I'll get flattened by a car. Dogs have no concept of roads. So when I'm walking towards a dog on the footpath, I normalize it. I go, this is okay. This is exactly what we're meant to be doing. On the other hand, the dog is looking at it going, oh my God, he's coming right at me. There's all that room over there. Why isn't he choosing it? Why is he coming at me? And we start to trigger the danger brain of the dog. We start to see lip licking. We start to see yawning. We start to see avoidance. But we have the dog on the lead. We're normally in a rush and we drag our dog towards. We end up completely compromising the dog. And then this is why we see aggression on leash. This is also why we see these overexcited dogs go rushing into the dog's face. They go, oh my God, are we a threat? Are you a threat? Oh my God, I don't know what to do. Are you hit? Oh my God. That's overstimulation. That's not friendliness.
Yeah.
That's not the dog trying to make friends. It's actually the dog going, I don't know what to do. I bloody did not choose to be here. Is everything all right? But we go, he's just being friendly.
Well, I think the other thing that's really important is when you do meet another dog head on, sometimes your dog will give a warning of an avoidance sniff. So it'll go, oh, I'm going to avoid. I'm going to go out to the side and sniff. And we go, what are you doing? Socialize and try and pull it back into that situation.
We flood it.
And then that's when the dog goes, panics.
Yeah. If we look at actually, there's the sniff, but it's a sequence, isn't there? He's actually saw the dog. He's probably licked, and he's probably gone quite tense, but we've missed that because our eyes are forward.
Mm-hmm.
He's not only sniffed, he's also stopped. And he's actually stopped moving towards that direction. And he's tried to go off to the side.
Yeah.
So he's moving around and he's averting his gaze.
Yeah.
And he's basically communicating, I'm not a threat. He's trying to diffuse his tension, like the perceived threat. But we drag him forward.
Yeah. And it kills me. And I think the other thing, when I'm walking dogs, a lot of people think I'm rude because I will do that. I know this dog's, gets way too overstimulated and I won't interact, or it's not good for the dog at the time. So I will take them to the side and go around, and people go, because they want their dog to interact. I'm like, no, this is not, I'm looking out for the dog. This is not good for this dog to interact like that in that situation. And the looks that I get sometimes, like I'm like, come on, let's go. And I just like walk on.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh.
Well, I think it goes back down to a weird thing that we have with our dogs, that they've got to be friends with everybody.
I'm not friends with everyone.
I don't go and hug every person I see on the street.
Can you imagine you went and hugged every person on the street?
But we expect our dogs to, right?
I know. Isn't it so weird? Like, oh, you're a dog. You should like other dogs.
Should be friendly. Should.
Keyword.
This is where I'm going to go into that story about Amanda Cole, the veterinary behaviorist. She told this story so well to a seminar at the APDT a few years back now, and it got me thinking. Hey, she compared our weird perception of what is tolerable for dogs to other animals, and in this version it was cats. And she said, if I go up to a cat that I don't know and go and pat it, and it swipes me, I normalize it, because I should have known better. Cats do that, like that's normal for a cat to swipe if he doesn't know you. I should know better. If I go up to a dog, common perception is if I go up to a dog and go to pat it and it growls, it avoids, or it is just uncomfortable in any way, or if the owner says no, don't, then the dog's broken. The dog's weird. Your dog's not right, mate. Now, there's nothing wrong with that dog. He's communicating exactly the same way a cat would, but we don't give the dog those privileges. We put them in so many situations where they're almost set up to fail.
Yeah.
And then wonder why they do that. And it's not fair. We see it, especially, and we're going back to making a point of, we live in a city, and we put our dogs in cafe situations, dog park situations. But again, keyword there, we put our dogs there. Mm-hmm. These are weird situations for dogs. Dog parks, I've said it many times, it's a bunch of strangers stood in the field and we expect it to go well.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to. We've got to build their confidence. And if they are head shy, if they are avoiding, if they are growling, they're communicating, this is stressful. Help them.
Yeah. And I walk a dog called Boris. You've met Boris. He gets a bit nervous, uncomfortable with people coming up to him. And he's a very unique looking dog. And he's like, I don't know what we think he is, but they don't know. But he's meant to be a Staffy cross, but he's huge. And he's got like a brindley coloured coat. He's probably like bigger than a lab.
Oh, yeah. He's a big boy. He's big. Staffy Mastiff, got something in him. Yeah. Lovely looking dog. Bit odd in the face. He's
such a character.
He's a goose.
And he was one of the first dogs I ever walked. And he went through a fear period and got really uncomfortable with people coming into his space. And a lot of people try and come up to me to pat him. And I have to say, no, sorry, he doesn't like people. Oh, he'll like me. And I say, no, he really doesn't like people. And then he barks. And his bark is like massive. It's like, oh, I was going to do it then, but I stopped myself.
Good on you.
Very deep bark. And it's quite scary. But obviously I know it's not. And then people go, oh, he's aggressive.
That's it. And what do you think his goal is in that moment?
Go away.
Distance increasing.
Too close.
Yep. And this is where dogs that practice aggression, practice barking, practice pinning, practice actually the act of aggression. We've got to remember that it's driven by self-preservation. Mm. These dogs that practice it, their goal is to stay alive. And if they're still alive at the end of it, they have practiced it and then got better at it. These dogs are learning that to become very confident that behavior is working. But it does not mean that the dog is confident.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
The behavior itself is still driven by stress, fear, and anxiety because it's been compromised and it feels the need to behave that way. I'm going to reiterate now, like, this isn't, stress is not choice. Anxiety is not choice. Fear is not choice.
Same as people. Like when you're stressed or you're scared, Ian, he's going to post these, but He bloody scares me all the time. You know, it's not my choice to be like, oh,
That's an amygdala hijack.
exactly.
You can't consciously choose to feel stressed, fearful, or anxious.
What when you go into those what are they called? The things you walk through, the ghost things, like at
Oh, you've lost me.
at like Universal Studios. There's like this thing you can walk through, and like all these people jump out at you.
Oh,
and,
like haunted houses.
yeah. Wow. Why couldn't I think of that word? It's like that.
Yeah, that's it. You know, there's a great video. There's loads of them, but where people are just creeping up on normally their parents and going, "Ugh," and just making them jump. And every
Yeah.
time that person goes, "Oh Christ," then it triggers and reacts.
Mm.
When the dog goes into fight or flight, the brain and the body get hit with adrenaline and cortisol. It goes through the body and, you know, down the spine. And it takes 72 hours to a week to get all of that out of the system. They're going to carry it. They the same as you and me.
Mm.
And we go, oh, you know, they're so stoic. They just move on. Physically, they move on, as in like they look like they've moved on. But chemically, they are still carrying that stress.
Yeah.
I remember those arguments in my life. I remember those fights. They were bloody dangerous. And the dog's not going to just forget about it. He's going to have a memory around that.
Yeah.
And this is where how we handle problem behaviors, we're going to go into this in a lot more detail, but how we handle problem behaviors that are driven by the stress, fear, or anxiety. So when the danger brain is activated, so problem behaviors such as, and when I say problem, I mean unwanted.
Yeah.
Because for a dog, they're not a problem. They're
But for us.
they're appropriate for how the dog feels. They
Yeah.
might just happen to be inappropriate for what we've put them through
Mhm.
and what situation they're in. But growling is a common one. Aggression is a common one. You know, when a dog is fearful and pulling on the lead is a common one. Now, people tend to, because they're a problem and that's the way they've been termed, they correct it. If you correct it, you actually make them more stressed. You punish them, you make them more stressed. And so you compound the learned negative association and increase the likelihood that they're going to feel that way in the future.
Yeah.
People are scared to use positive reinforcement in this moment because they've been told on television that they can't reinforce that state. You can't pat the dog when he's scared. You can't reward the dog after a fight. You can't reward the dog after he's going through anxiety. I think not even an aggression case, but a thunderstorm. People are worried that they can't cuddle their dog in a thunderstorm because they're going to make them want to feel stressed.
I want to cuddle in a thunderstorm. I get scared sometimes, you know?
You can't choose to feel stressed.
No. And I think there's a question on my NDTF course, and this was the question. You know, it was about, I think it was the dog was scared of the vacuum cleaner and what could you do to help, you know, with the stress. And a lot of people got it wrong because they were like, oh, you know, you can't reward the...
You can't pat him in that moment.
Yeah, you can't reward that behavior. You can't give him treats. You can't pat him. And like everyone got it wrong. And then once they explained it to us...
Did you get it right?
For the second time, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I was still learning, okay?
No, yeah, that's why I was laughing.
But yeah, I think you give the example of when you come home after a shit day at work.
Yeah. Like I always use this one. If I get home from work and I've had a shit day, you know, I come home and I'm ranting to my partner, like, you know, this is, my boss is an ass. This is happening. I've just had the worst day and I'm ranting. If they correct me, if they go, shut up, you do this every day, you're just driving me insane, then one, it doesn't help me in that moment. It just makes me eventually just not want to come home because not only is work shit, but home shit now as well.
Yeah.
So it compounds the overall stress and the overall emotional state of me. Certainly doesn't help me and create positive associations at work. Whereas if I got home, I had a bit of a rant, and they went, "Hey, you okay? Do you want a beer? Do you want to sit down? Do you want to take a moment?" Then it makes me feel better in that moment.
Yeah.
It helps me actually decompress. In its simplest form, chemically, it allows endorphins and feel-good hormones to fight the cortisol that I am currently experiencing.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
No.
It doesn't make me want to go and rant the next day when I get home. I'm not going to come in and go, do you know what? If I rant, she's going to give me a beer.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
even if it ever did get to that point, that is choice. That's where the thinking brain is active, not the danger brain, because danger brain is not choice.
I want to go back on thunderstorms. I've had this a few times where people say, "Oh, should I put my dog here when there's a thunderstorm? Should I not touch it? Should I not cuddle it?" And I just say, if that dog finds its place. So I have a dog that I walk, Kobe, and his new place was like in the middle of the bathroom. So I have a dog, Kobe, that I walk, and his place was in the middle of the bathroom and the bedroom, like in the hallway. And that was his place where he felt safe. And I'm like, if he feels safe there, then it's totally fine. Like, that's his safe spot from the thunderstorm. And then a lot of people say, what should I do? I'm like, well, whatever feels good for them. If they want to be patted in that time, pat them. If they want cuddles in that time, cuddle them. If they want food, give them food. Like, just make them feel okay.
Better. Yeah, because next time the thunderstorm hits, they're going to remember all the good things that happened, or be more likely to remember all the good things that happened. And they're not ever going to hear a thunderstorm and go, do you know what? If I get stressed, these guys might give me treats. Like, that's ridiculous thought process.
Yeah.
And for somebody to ever say you can't reward the dog for feeling, because you might make him want to feel stressed again. So I think we've got a really good little drawing. We've got some videos to put up today. We've also got a little drawing of what we call the traffic light system. Take a look at it, guys, because it's a visual indicator towards how the dog, what the dog goes through, the stages of stress. And you know what? Let's just end with this nice and clearly. If the dog is starting to get stressed, don't build on it.
No.
You've got one goal. Reduce the arousal level, reduce the amount of stress so that it comes back down into the thinking brain. The thinking brain is where they can learn and process information. It's where we try to train them. Training dogs in the danger brain isn't appropriate. It's them going to take trauma shots. So we go bring them down using positive reinforcement to make them feel better. So then they're thinking again, and then they're trainable. That might be using food. It might be using distance away from what's stressing them or pressing them. But I don't care what you've only got one goal: reduce the arousal level so that they can think again.
And I think a lot of people feel that when their dog is in that red zone, just push on. We'll just push through. And it's like, no, you're making it a hell of a lot worse for your dog. Like, stop, get out of there, go home, take them home, because it's not helping anyone. You're feeling stressed. They're feeling very stressed.
Yeah.
Just get out of the situation. I feel like in Bondi, on that boulevard, so many dogs are like barking, growling, displaying fetal behaviors, and people just keep, we'll just push through. We'll walk to the end of the boulevard. I'm like, man, get your dog out of here.
Yeah,
it's not happy.
When we take, we're going to do a whole thing on leash walking and getting your dogs out in public, but when we're taking them out, we've got to listen to our dog. We've got to actually make it not about us covering a certain amount of distance. And you got to listen to your dog. How does it feel that day? Be different every day. I think you said something earlier, and we'll put up the blog around this as well for everybody. But you mentioned the word fear period earlier.
Oh yeah.
We've got a written blog to go alongside it today. Let us know. Have a read. Let us know if you want us to talk about this in more detail, because it is stages. It's a stage of a dog's life. There's two of them, where that danger brain turns on for no bloody reason whatsoever. No rhyme or reason.
No warning either.
No warning. And for whatever reason, it is firing. And those dogs that day normally looks like agitation, excess energy. Typically, then we take our dogs out for lots of running when the danger brain's already firing and end up overwhelming and overstimulating them further. When really they probably should have been wrapped in cotton wool and not exposed to much at all that day. Yeah. Have a read, guys. I think it's probably worth us talking about that on a separate day, but we'll definitely put it up there because it was thrown in the mix and we don't want to create confusion.
Yeah, and I learned that from you a lot with Boris. He went through one. And that's when I sort of first saw it. And then once you see it once and you understand what's happening, you see it again and again, and you can pick it up and go, right, it's fear period. This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't catch it early, then it's very hard to get out of.
It's a critical learning stage, and if they're going through stress and we end up flooding them or correcting them for feeling that way, then you're going to end up creating so many lifelong problems potentially that are built around early trauma in their life, and it's completely avoidable through understanding and knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was everything.
I think so. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Keep listening. We've got